everyone. My name is Jalen, and on this episode for the Hotelie Podcast, we have Pam Davis-Acey. Pam Davis-Acey is the Associate Director of Career Management at the Nolan Hotel School. She has held career management positions at Cornell for over 2 decades and has worked as a program coordinator and student services coordinator prior to her current position. She provides amazing resources to all Cornell Hotel students as she advises them on their career path, helps employers connect with students, organizes career-related workshops, and stays informed on alumni happenings. Among her great passion for career services and helping students, she is also an avid sports enthusiast, hoping one day that the Buffalo Bills make history.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Hotelie Podcast. I'm your host, Suero.
I'm your co-host, Theo, Belin, and today we are joined by our esteemed guest, Pamela Davis-Acey. Pam, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Happy to be with you both.
Happy to have you. So first off, what brought you to Cornell?
Brought me to Cornell. Well, I just celebrated my 25th anniversary last Thursday, so February 1st of 1999. I was hired to work for a student services position unrelated to the hotel school, actually. I started working with biology students at Cornell, was a kind of a program coordinator / camp counselor, and did that for a number of years. And then about 12 years ago, came to the hotel school to actually work with graduate students. So always student services, always trying to find ways to help students have meaningful experiences, have easy experiences, and I can't imagine doing much else other than this.
Amazing. So you graduated from Nazareth University with a pre-law degree. And did you ever imagine going into the career services?
I never set foot in career services at NAS. Sorry to my friends and colleagues now. I had a very different vision for where I wanted to go, and I didn't think it related to career services. And then when I came home and circumstances sort of put things on pause, it was really hard to find where I could contribute gifts or where I could bring my talents, and actually did a few different things before making my way to Cornell. I worked for a not-for-profit for individuals with intellectual disabilities, but still was doing kind of coordinating efforts and trying to find ways to improve systems and processes. And then really it was through that position that I met somebody who was a former Cornell employee, and she said, "I think you should meet somebody." And I was like, okay, sure. And had a phone call with who later became my boss, had a really casual conversation. But it was because of my friend's sort of referral or reference that this individual said, "Why don't you come in on a Sunday afternoon? We'll sit and talk and just hear what you think about the position." I came fully dressed and ready to be in an interview, and she came in from slopping the horses, and she was in muck boots and her jod hoppers, and I remember her sitting over a chair kind of very casually, and I was fully business professional, and it was the easiest interview I'd ever had. We talked about everything under the sun, and I really think about that often when I'm talking to my students about interview prep or thinking about sort of how you bring your story forward. Like, it's conversation, hopefully, and not some sort of scary interrogation. Like, it should feel very natural to be talking to that person. And she said, "When do you think you want to start?" And I said, "Give me 2 weeks and I'll be here." And February 1st happened really quickly, so.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned that the recruitment process and this idea of an interview is pretty scary. What do you say to students now that are preparing for interviews, that are going for jobs that they hope to secure when they get out of college?
Yeah, I think, remember, some of the work has already been done, right? Especially if I've coached you, we've probably worked on your resume before we've gotten to the interview. And if you think about it, the resume is what got you the interview. The story that you presented there is what was compelling enough to bring somebody on board to say, like, yeah, let's bring this person in and talk and learn some more about those stories. So I really try to frame interviewing or kind of thinking about talking to folks about your experience is that it's a conversation. You've given sort of a little bit of an enticement in the story you've crafted, and this is just an opportunity to sort of drill down. Now, that doesn't mean for case or technical, like there's definitely content to kind of prepare, but I think initially it really is an empowered space to sort of know that you've done enough already to kind of get yourself in the door. And I think if we work from an empowered place and not a deficit, it oftentimes feels a little bit more like, oh, I can tackle this. I'm just already telling them what I know or what my experiences were.
And you made it there already.
You're in the door, right? Now we just get to sit down and talk about it.
Right.
The hard work was getting the resume filled out and getting the experiences to put on the resume.
Awesome. And going off the last question, there's so much focus and pressure on students to find internships and jobs, upon graduation.
Yeah.
Which can really detract them from taking advantage of all the opportunities at Cornell, right? Cornell's an amazing place. And what advice do you have for kids on how to balance recruiting while also making the most out of their time here?
Yeah. Most of my appointments in the last 2 weeks since the semester started are filled with a lot of anxious feelings around, am I too late? Have I missed it? Am I not doing this right? What if I don't want to do this industry, this particular job opportunity? I really look at college years as a spot to sort of explore. I tell first-year students all the time, oftentimes it's about just putting your antennas up, tuning in, picking up frequencies that other people are talking about or exploring, and not necessarily feeling like you have to be pressured into following that, but just be curious. I often also coach that it doesn't matter where you go or what opportunity you post up about what you're doing and sort of how prestigious it is if I can't get you across the stage to get your diploma. So we really are, I come from a place of like, I give you permission if it's feeling like it's too much. Like if we have to set this down, we set it down. We don't set it down forever, but maybe you need to set it down long enough to go finish a group project, study for that prelim. I really try to respect that there's a lot on your plate, and that while there is a big drive for career and outcomes and sort of sharing with all of the building and your friends what your opportunity is for next summer, this summer, summer after next, like if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not doing the real job that we're here for, which is a little bit of the career, but it's more about your academics, then none of this is going to really matter. And that my office serves as a safe spot. If we need to set it down for a little bit, we set it down, and we'll come back to it.
Right. And so I see that there's almost like a safety blanket here at the hotel school, as we do have these options as going to your offices and all the people that are here to help us. But I also think there's an aspect of the Hotelie network out of here. Seems that almost every hotelier that you reach out to is willing to talk to. Would you give us a little bit of insight on how you guys manage these relationships with alumni, and why do you think the hotel school specifically has such an amazing network of alumni?
Yeah, I mean, coming to the hotel school, it blew me away. There's Cornell and the reputation, and I think the deep, deep pride people have of having gone through here, had the experiences that they had. But when I came to the hotel school and started to learn about the network, it was profound, and what a true gift. And in the sense of what something that you said, Lucas, of the willingness to kind of circle back, the willingness and the warmth to say, like, no, we want them to reach out to us. We want to help. We want to have those conversations. And then to see it on my side as a coach or as a Career Center team member, where they as alums are then reaching out and saying, but hey, do you know anybody? Can you help get this information out to students? Because we really would love hoteliers. I just think that's a true gift for students. I think maybe part of the reason for me that it's super easy to tap into some of the alums and say, could you help this student? Can I connect you to? I think is because I've been here a long while, and they remember that experience in my office of safety, of bringing whatever the ugly was that day and saying, like, I just don't like this right now. And I think that I just try to approach my interactions with my students, my alums, even with industry people who weren't alums, from a really strong relational standpoint. I want them to know I'm accessible, that I'm listening, that they're seen, that they're heard, and that's really important to me.
Right. And so for students that want to reach out to these alumni,
Yeah.
it's almost kind of intimidating to send that cold email.
It is.
Right? Mm-hmm. So what do you say to them? To
Yeah.
those students that, they have that crafted email, but they're just waiting to send it because
Yeah.
they're nervous.
Right. I spend a little time talking about what's holding them back. We name it, we claim it. We say like, okay, I'm afraid to send this to this alum because what if he thinks I'm a joke? What if he thinks like, what is this person doing writing to me? And so I try to sort of demystify some of it. I spend a lot of time talking about like that information wasn't selected by me to include in the directory. If the CEO of a Fortune 500 company has made his business email address, business phone number, is available to you, that was selected by them to include. So we're going to take them at their word. And I really just try to, again, I strive to empower that what's the worst that could happen if they don't respond. We know that there's 15,000 alums. If it's not that one, we'll find another one. But remember, they select this information to be made available to you. They want to hear from you. All it takes is one alum to prove my point of how giving they are, how willing they are, to sort of participate in conversations and advice and the whole 9 yards. I haven't had many prove me wrong. I haven't had many alums prove me wrong. But I also will say, if they don't feel like they're making gains, then I might say, well, I know them. Let me reach out to them. Maybe something's going on for them. Maybe they're on vacation. Maybe they're traveling. Let me try with you, not to insert myself in the process, but to say, let's see if I can maybe make an offer to make an introduction and then leave it to the two of you to figure it out. As a last-ditch effort. Rarely do I have to do that, though.
Mm. It's good to know that there is that blanket as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Likely because I've worked with them.
You've probably seen them come out of Cornell.
I probably did
and
the
go
same
into
thing
industry.
for them, right? When they were undergrad alums and had, felt like they had those same kind of barriers.
Definitely. Do you think there are any other ways that either the school or students or alumni can kind of, help bridge the gap between, these two parties? Because our time at Cornell doesn't stop after 4 years.
No, it doesn't.
It continues indefinitely.
Yeah.
Right? So how can we at the school continue to bridge that gap?
That's a great question. I remember talking to an alum, Ted Tang. We were talking about the significance of networking, and I say this with as much love and respect and regard for Ted, but the minute you meet him, you're connected, right? He finds you on LinkedIn, he's connecting to you on socials, and he means that. It's not just to sort of have 5,000 followers. He's had a connection with you, he's had a conversation, and you're very quickly connected to him. But he and I were having a conversation during a career track, and he said, networking is about relationship, right? It's not the transaction of I'm a current student and you're an alum, can you give me something? It is actually, how do I build the foundations of a strong enough relationship that over time we're encountering each other? And I really think for students, current students, I think shifting our mindset from the transaction of I'm going to an alum to ask for a job, ask for insight, ask for a coffee chat. And it really is approaching it from is this a person that 3 years from now, when I'm back on the scene looking for something, or that alum is looking for someone, that we've made enough of an impression and a connection that we can come back to each other that way. So I think shifting it from transaction to really building relationships. And I think for our alums, especially our young alums, that's what I think they learn really quickly is you've joined a family. You've joined people who it's really easy, even if you've met them once at a networking event, they remember your name, they remember your face, they remember some part of your story, and you're just setting intentions of maintaining and sustaining that. I think that's shifts it from something that feels onerous and scary and more of I'm just building out people that I want to know that want good for me and I want to help them.
Amazing. And you briefly mentioned the idea of career checks, right? I recently went on a real estate career check. It was a joint, cooperation between Nolan and Dyson School for freshmen and sophomores, and it was absolutely amazing.
Yay!
Really, really cool experience. And so, your team and you help coordinate these massive operations. What is it like coordinating these career checks?
Oh, wow. I love that question because I can tell you so many things. I love when students see Hotelies and Dyson, because this is College of Business, but when they see themselves in those places. When you're at Blackstone and you see Hotelies there and you understand it makes sense why Hoteliers are in that room. When you are at EY, when you're at Related and you see alums there, like it really, for first and second year students, still trying to figure out what they want to do, why they want to do, those kinds of events are fantastic. Most companies do a fantastic job about walking you through a day in the life. Here's the type of business we do. These are the things that, you can expect. We want it to also mirror, like if you decided to intern or work with them, here's what it's like to get on the subway system and move from Nomad all the way up to FIDI and then back. And how do you find restaurants to eat in and how are you moving through? So we're really trying to come at it from an experiential lens, and I think it's really important. My most favorite part is to see my alums, and I do sort of take a little bit of possession, but my former students in these roles and able to talk about how this degree and the very same coursework that you're taking helped them get where they are. And I think it just really syncs up for why first and second year students, I think, feel a little bit stronger about where they want to go, where they want to make gains, and what the career planning looks like from that point forward. And it's just a really, who would have thought something like visiting EY would turn someone's head to like, oh, I didn't realize they had this division, and now that's kind of where I think I want to go. And if you bring it back and you've had that experience and it's informing what courses you want to take or affirms for you want to pursue the real estate minor and the type of courses you want to build into it, I just feel like it really does support your overall academic experience. And if ultimately you end up there, all the better. But I think it's just that sort of deep dive into, okay, I'm learning about this in class and it seems sort of abstract, but now I've been someplace and I've seen it put to work. And I hope it helps students start to think about where they want to go. I don't know. I'll have to ask you when you graduate.
Definitely.
If the track had any impact on where you ended up.
Right. So kind of want to go back to the whole idea of networking. Mm-hmm. There's a very big stigma around what is networking? What does it actually mean?
Yeah.
Some people hate it. Some people love it. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first got here during my freshman year, you were up on stage telling us that networking is transactional. Right?
Isn't transactional.
Sorry, is not transactional.
Right.
It's a facilitation of information from one party to the other, and it's returned through both parties.
Right.
Now, what question I have is for more particularly the first year students, first year and second year students that don't really have much experience under their belt. How can they go up to someone and provide value for them as well?
I love that question because it feels probably when I was standing on that stage, it felt like, yeah, but I don't have anything to offer quite yet, right? And this is a little bit informed by conversations I have with alums, but this is really rooted in my sort of perspective. Think about talking to an alum from a class a few decades ago, and where we are now at Nolan, course-wise, instructor-wise, kind of requirements, practice credit. Like there's ways for you to share the value add could be just, here's where we're at now with the school. We're celebrating 100 years. Things look a lot different from even 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And maybe for them, the value add right now is that you're having a conversation and sharing what your experience is. I still think there's opportunities for connection over that, even if who they took an accounting class from is not the same person you're taking an accounting class from. You are actually, as students, learning some of the kind of most current academic thought about this industry, and that might be useful to an alum as to, kind of where we're going with things. What's new? How are we approaching it? How are we raising the newest set of business leaders and how you're being taught? That can add value to an alum, even if it's just reconnecting with their experiences or them knowing what opportunities to bring in talent. You're it. right? You're the class that they're going to want to talk to, and they need to know sort of what you're being taught, what you're learning, how it's being shaped, and that might be good insight for them as well.
Absolutely, and I think we can bring a different perspective.
100%.
I
The most current. Not that theirs is invalid, but I think it's evolving. What we were teaching 100 years ago at the start of the school, basic premise is still there, but I think the way you're being taught, you are our new thought leaders, and I think they want to hear from you in that way.
Absolutely, and I experienced that firsthand. I had an internship over the winter, and I went to work for this one individual, and he was one of the most visionary type people I've ever met. He had these big goals, and everything everything he touched turned to gold. But the one thing that I provided for him and the value that I created for him were these little things that he would never think of.
Right.
The little things that to me was so innate. So, for example, he owns a restaurant, multiple restaurants, but one of them was a sushi restaurant. And it was in a food market. And I remember working the cash register for about 10 hours one day just to get a feel for how the operations were. And over those 10 hours, I got asked multiple times for kid chopsticks or chopsticks that you can use that's easier. It's like the training wheels. And I mentioned that to him, and he was like, "Lucas, that is brilliant." I was like, that's like the easiest small little thing that I picked up. Those are things that I've used my entire life. And there's multiple more of these examples, like the use of AI. That's something that is definitely really big within our generation. We're starting to learn how that gets used and how to properly and effectively leverage it to help you actually.
Correct.
And I was able to show him a few of the implications that provided, and now he's starting to get on it.
Right. It makes me think of like my 11-year-old son helping my mom with her phone. I don't mean this in an ageist way, but I think it's something that is very natural for you. For those of us that were sort of brought up in different times, that's not our inclination to go to that. And so you do bring value and perspective that kind of helps improve processes, improve systems, brings sort of a new attention to things that I think that's a huge value add. And I think that alums appreciate that. And sometimes just engaging in the discourse of their experience and what you see and how you want to shape it and move that forward as you emerge, there's so many value points there too. So I love all of it.
Definitely. Pam, I want to ask you more of a fun question now.
Oh, okay.
So you've mentored
the New York Yankees. No, I'm just kidding.
Buffalo Bills.
And the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, we'll get into that. But you've mentored countless of students. You've been here for 25 years. You've seen all of these students gone and do amazing, incredible things. What's that feeling that you get when you go and see them? You see those students that came in as freshmen, all scared and nervous, and now they're doing just amazing things.
Yeah. I feel deep gratitude that I got to be some small part of their story while they were here. My hope is that I made it easier in some way for them. I want to celebrate all of the big wins. I think some of my most favorite encounters, and it's both hoteliers because I've been here a long time, but my students when I was in biology as well. I remember students in biology who, became published authors on like scientific papers that were being published in like what was the equivalent of their industry sort of highest standard, celebrating that with them because I knew what they had done to get there. When I'm on these career treks, like I mentioned before, and I see alums in the room and they're in these roles and they're talking about sort of their business aspirations, I really feel proud and just think like, I don't care if you ever remember me again. I just want to know that I made it a little bit easier along the way. And it's thousands of students over 25 years. I mean, 50 semesters I've worked with students and summers. And I hope I've made it easy just once for all of them.
That right there is the true definition of life as service.
I never knew coming to Cornell that I would end up at the hotel school. I never knew that the value we live here was how I was living already. And I remember coming to the hotel school and being here like in my very first few weeks and walking down the hall and students like making eye contact with me in the hallway and saying good morning. And I just want people to know other buildings on this campus that does not happen. So I just thought, oh my gosh, everybody's so friendly and so warm, and that's not stopped. And I think, wow, how fun that I get to sort of walk down a hall, say good morning to everybody, have everybody stop me in the hall, give me an update about the track, give me an update about where they are with their recruitment. I just love that. That's, I feel sort of like nobody's caught on that they're paying me to do this job. But I tell anybody and everybody, every day I wake up excited to come to work. And that has been the case for definitely all my time at the hotel school and definitely most of my time here at Cornell. So I get paid to love my job. Wow. Okay.
That's
dream.
Incredible.
It's a dream. 100%.
And I will tell you, you have made my career track much easier.
Oh my gosh.
I just know that I can go into the office and I could be having the worst day.
Yeah.
But at least when I get out of there, I have an idea of where I'm going to go next.
Yeah. I love that.
I
Thank
appreciate
you for that. Thank you. I was watching a comedy show and Dave Chappelle was talking about like how he's a dreamer. He's really good at dreaming. And I thought, yeah, that's it. Like, y'all come in with your plans. What you come in here doing already is phenomenal. And then you have dreams, and I just say, okay, let's go. Let's go from a yes and start someplace. And I love it. You guys have amazing things that when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, never thought of. So if I get to sort of witness that, like this podcast, like, heck yeah, let's go.
Right. And so another thing that I love to dream about is having the Buffalo Bills win a Super Bowl.
Just one before I die, Lucas. Just one before I die, okay? Yes, I am a little bit of a sports fan.
A little bit.
Little bit of a sports fan.
I remember I went into the career service office, and your entire room was decked out.
Mm-hmm.
I think even some of the other members from the career services will be getting you certain gifts that are all around Buffalo Bills, or they'll be making sure on game day to text you the message or whatever it may be.
Yeah, one before I die. And there is nothing better than a good football game on Sunday. And yes, my beloved team surprised me for my birthday this past August by redecorating my office and everything bedecked in Buffalo Bills. I think, Lucas, the last time you were in my office, somebody had just sent me the Buffalo Bills Little People, and I was like, this is like winning the Heisman Trophy kind of moment. Yeah, I think, my funny story is, like, if the New York Yankees or the Buffalo Bills called tomorrow and said, we need you on our coaching staff, that would be the only thing that would probably make me leave Cornell and leave my job. So they haven't called. So I'm still here, right? But I love sports. I love watching sports. I love watching my kid play sports. My little guy plays soccer, and that's really fun to watch. But yeah, just one before I go.
That's how
one win.
All right. That's all we need. I was born and raised in Buffalo, so
yeah.
We know it, of course.
It's a lifestyle, right?
It really
like
is.
A lifestyle to be a long-suffering Buffalo Bills fan. Like you love them. We get angry with them, but it doesn't mean I stop loving them. It just means like I have thoughts about how we played that day. But I was talking to a family member about, like, not that I don't care about who's in the Super Bowl, but it's an occasion to make food and kind of sit and watch and have an experience. And I sort of feel like I don't really know what I'm doing this Sunday for Super Bowl Sunday because it's not my guys.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So, Pam, we have one final question for you.
I'm ready.
And that is, what is the top career lesson that you learned along your journey?
Top career lesson I learned along my journey. I had some really definite plans about what I thought I was going to do. I had a 12-year plan. I was going to do undergrad. I was going to go to law school. I was going to live in D.C. I wanted to, make gains in working in government. And life changed for me very abruptly, and that felt sort of disconcerting. And so I like planning. I'm really good. My life is oftentimes organized by an Excel spreadsheet. But I think I learned to embrace the flex, that sometimes there are things that happen beyond our control and that we sort of take a pause. Don't let it derail us 100%, and realize that that's an opportunity presented to us to pivot if we need to, or to slow down so that we don't miss something. And I wish that I had known that earlier. And I think sometimes that informs how I coach, because not everybody, some people feel like I need to do it this way. This is how, and if I miss this window, that's it. And I'm like, is it though? Like, let me ask a gentle question. Like, is it really the only way we get there? And I use the example, making gains in finance. There can be 26 people that are all alums at Goldman Sachs. I bet they all had very different experiences, and nothing was cookie cutter. And I think that's it. Embrace the flex. Tune in. Sometimes that means you got to slow your thoughts down. You got to slow the sort of like amping up of like, if I can't get this right now, it means this 3 or 4 years from now. And really sort of tune into what that means for you.
Phenomenal. Well, thank you for such genuine advice.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. This has been another episode of the Hotelie Podcast, and we thank you all for listening. And we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.